This is the Recruit the Employer podcast, and you're listening to episode 88, Why My Client Sarah Declined a Job Offer with a Raise. Welcome to the Recruit the Employer podcast, a show for the ambitious, action-oriented career woman who wants to live out her purpose, rise to the top of her industry, and be seen as a leader at work. In 30 minutes or less, we'll walk you through the latest strategies to land your dream job, blast through imposter syndrome, and make the money you deserve. I'm your host, Jena ex-Wall Streeter turned career coach and founder of Recruit the Employer. But more importantly, I'm on a mission to help you fall in love with your work again. So grab a glass of wine, get ready to be coached, and tune in to your weekly boost of career confidence. Hi, friends, and welcome back to the Recruit the Employer podcast. I am so excited to introduce you to my friend and past client, now fellow entrepreneur, Sarah. You're going to be hearing a conversation that Sarah and I recorded where we're talking a lot about the Recruit the Employer program, why she decided to invest in it, what she got out of it. But then she's also going to share her story of actually declining a job offer that she got in the middle of COVID. Even though that job offer was something she was really excited about, she was going to be working for a leader that she was excited to work for, and she was going to be making more money. So this is a really interesting conversation around confidence, imposter syndrome, going after your dreams, and taking a chance on yourself. She's also going to be sharing some productivity tips and some ways for you to think differently about how you work from home in the middle of a pandemic. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Sarah. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Recruit the Employer podcast. I'm really quite excited to jump into 2021 with a dear friend of mine, a past client, and somebody I admire, Sarah O'Hannison, and she is going to be talking to us a little bit today about her experience in the Recruit the Employer program, her experience into and jumping into entrepreneurship, and she's going to share a little bit about productivity and how you can incorporate that into your own job search. So, Sarah, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me. This is so much fun.
I know you have been a long listener of the podcast, so it's probably a little bit weird to now be on it.
I think I've listened to every episode, actually. So.
I love it. So why don't you just tell us, I know I gave a little bit of an intro to you, but why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I say if you need to get more done, then I'm your gal. I'm here to help. I'm a chief marketing officer turned productivity coach, trainer, and speaker. So I was a busy CMO. At the end of the day and sometimes night, I couldn't process one more thing or be fully present at home. And, outwardly, I was on top of my career. I was running a multi-million-dollar business, respected by my peers. I really had it all. But inside, my stress got out of control and I lived to work and I was facing burnout, which, we've talked a lot about. And so I built systems and tools and templates that I really needed to manage life as a busy CMO. And now I am blessed that I get to share everything I've learned and created. So I coach and train busy professionals on how to be more productive, have more confidence, have less guilt, and ultimately get back control of their time, just like I did.
I love that. But your journey to that was not conventional, right? You thought you were, when we had started working together, and I'd love to hear kind of your perspective of what was the point when you realized, gosh, I'm in this CMO role, because entrepreneurship was not even on your mind at the moment. But what prompted you to reach out even to us in the first place? Like, when did you realize, okay, it's time for me to find something new?
Yeah. So I really didn't even know I needed you. And now I think, how could I have done this without her? But, I had been with my company my whole career and I loved what I did. I had a great job.
And you were very good at what you did too.
Very good. I mean, I was in a really good situation. But at some point, you just start to wonder, what else is out there? Could I be even happier? Could I make more money? Could I live maybe in a different state or have a different lifestyle, have more time freedom? And at the point I began to really think about that seriously, honestly, I didn't know where to begin or what direction to go in.
Well, no one taught you how to do that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I had run helped run this small, medium-sized business for 15 years. So when I sat down to write a resume, I mean, my job and my job description, it was all over the place. I had marketing in my title, but that sort of felt like I was being pigeonholed. And I had done everything. I mean, sales, customer service, HR, in a family style business, you just do what you need to do to get the job done. And I had a really hard time expressing that and putting all of my years of experience in dozens of different areas into a resume that could summarize what I did. And of course, then you look at it all and you start downplaying it and taking what you achieve for granted. So I really needed someone like you to look at it from an outsider perspective. And luckily that's right at the moment when I found you.
And I think for you specifically, when we actually had a first conversation, you're like, I'm not ready to invest yet.
Yes.
And then you listen to the podcast for a while and you're like, okay, I think I definitely need help. And I think the biggest thing for you, and you can tell me if this resonates with you, you may not feel this way, but I feel like for you, you didn't realize how good you were at the things that you were good at. You didn't realize that you actually had a lot of accomplishments and you just needed your confidence boosted mostly. Would you agree with that?
100%. I think when I look back on my experience, there were so many great takeaways, but I really needed permission. I needed a confidence boost. Yeah, it's so easy to take for granted the things that you do because they come naturally to you. You do them every day. Of course, everyone knows how to, be productive. But they don't. Just because you're good at it doesn't mean everyone knows how to do that. And so I think what was important with which, really what I learned out of the program was this permission, this ability to have my confidence built up. And you and the other women in the group, you really did that for me.
Oh, I love that. So what made you to finally decide, hey, I want to invest in the program? Because you really didn't know that. That's a big question, right? That's a big investment. And it's not something that, I don't think is widespread talked about. Like career coaching is kind of this ambiguous thing. What does it really mean? What made you finally decide to invest in the program?
Well, I sat down to do the step of writing the resume because I didn't really know where to start, but naturally you think, well, I don't have a resume together or I have an old resume. That's what I should do. So I sat down to do that and I showed it to my husband to proofread my resume. And he said, you're downplaying this. You are undervaluing, you are underselling yourself. You're taking this amazing career and all these vast array of experiences that you've had. And you're just sort of saying, oh, I was a CMO. Like, great. Next bullet point.
Right.
And that's when he actually had suggested to me, I think you need a resume writer, a career coach. And we got online and that's when we found you. But for me, it is a big investment. After speaking with you, I felt a lot more comfortable. And I felt as if, wow, I'm going to get my resume written, certainly a tangible takeaway, but I feel like I'm going to get more out of this. So I just had a sense after speaking with you.
Yeah. Okay. So what would you say to somebody who is, listening to this? It's the new year. They've been, they might be in your position. They have been maybe at a job for a while, or they're not really in like a dire situation. They're not in between jobs. There are somebody that makes over six figures that has been very accomplished in their career and been thinking about making a change, but they're scared to either invest in themselves and get the support that they need. What would you tell someone like that?
Yeah. So, the program really helped. Right. Like I said, you get those takeaways, you get your resume written, you get your LinkedIn, there's those tangible things. But what the program really did for me was frame who I am in an organization and what my strengths are. You brought up to me, Jena, that I'm an integrator, which was a word that I had heard, but I didn't really fully understand. But it really helped me to define my strengths. So it helped me look for the right jobs. But it also helped me in the position that I was in at that time while I was still working, with you and looking for jobs. So, understanding that role was, the type of person that I am, this integrator, how that contributes to my success in the organization. It helped my relationships at work. It helped me communicate more effectively. And it helped me to understand that I work differently from other people. And that's actually a real positive. So it helped me see value you're just beyond that getting a new job.
Tangibles.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really hard to see that about yourself. So that was really eye-opening, even though, I ended up not getting a new position, but it taught me about myself. It helped me in the current position that I had. And it just gave me, like you mentioned before, this new level of confidence that I just had never had before.
So let's talk a little bit about that. You decided not to take a new position. So you were going through the interview process and you actually got an offer.
Yes.
And it was for more money and you turned it down. Tell me about that. Because I think people want to hear that. Like, you use the tools that we teach in Recruit the Employer. You used all the marketing messaging. You did land a job and you said no. Talk to us about that. I love this story. It makes me, because it shows the confidence piece so much, and that you really believed in yourself. And I believe, and I don't know if you can agree with this, but a lot of women just don't understand how talented they are. And then if they had the confidence piece of the puzzle, they would be more strategic in their career. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%. We're all guilty of thinking we're not good enough. We're not smart enough. We're not networked enough. You think you're not networked at all. Then you go and you look on social media and you think, oh, I do know all these people who are also connected. I mean, it's just so easy to have that imposter syndrome and to feel that we're not good enough. So I transitioned this confidence that I had gained from you, and I went out and looked for a new job, and I ended up getting one in a pandemic, and a job that I was really quite excited about. It was an integrator role, which I wouldn't have looked for that type of job had you not sort of brought that to light for me. I was offered a wonderful offer. I was on the fence about it, so I counter offered. They countered back with more money than
during a pandemic, which is what I think we need to repeat that, because people keep coming to me like, what's your prognosis for people getting a job? It's not going to happen, right? And I'm like, well, in some instances, but I think if you have the right support and the right strategies around you, you can actually negotiate right now.
For sure. And some companies are flourishing and growing, right. and you can't ignore that. But for me, I look back at that time and I think, gosh, a little while before working with you, I would have been too afraid to ask, not sure what to ask for, not sure what I'm worth, too shy, not willing to take that risk. And in the end, yes, I ended up turning that job down to start my own business and really follow my passion. But none of that could have been done without the confidence that I gained from working with you and the group, and my ability to communicate my strengths. And that really came out of the program.
I love that. So tell us, what was the moment? So we went in the midst of our coaching, right? I gave you kind of said, oh, I have this one idea.
Yes.
I just floated it out there. And here's the problem. If you tell Jena Viviano Dune that you have an idea, I'm going to probably press into that, push you a little bit harder, and say, if you don't scratch that entrepreneurial itch, you're probably never going to be fully satisfied in your career. So talk about that session that we had where you were talking, you kind of had this idea.
So for about 2 years, I had this nagging idea of productivity, and I'm a productive person. I love productivity. If there's a podcast about it, a book about it, a Netflix show about organizing, I'm doing it, right? I'm consuming that content. And so I love learning about it. I love putting it into practice in my own work. And so for about 2 years, I had really just had this nagging idea of what about productivity? What about productivity? But I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know how to make money doing that. I just wasn't sure. And I really hadn't talked about it with a lot of people. So I look back now and I realize now that I really needed permission to step out of my existing comfort zone, to step out of a safe place. And I brought this idea up to you really casually. I remember this conversation like it was yesterday. There's this other thing. And you were like, what is it? And I said, well, what if I like a productivity coach, and you said, tell me more. And when you said, tell me more, that was it. It changed everything, because it gave me that permission to move forward and to say, this is worth exploring.
And it's so funny because you came back to the table, and this is when and this is when I knew it was good for me to encourage this dream, because you came back the next week and you had a whole plan. You had all this content and you were excited about it. And that's one of those things where I recommend, if you have something that you are so passionate about and you are so excited about and you work on that in your free time, there is something to that. and you 100% dove right in. So whenever you had that offer, talk to us a little bit about, you didn't have the business, wasn't really started then, correct?
No, I had a loose frame of a website. I had basically a business plan done. I knew what I could offer to people. I knew that I could make money in this space. I knew that this was something I was very passionate about. So it was I would say a loose outline going. When the offer came and I was interviewing, there's just something that I like I said, I'm a lifetime learner. I love listening to podcasts, business and entrepreneurial podcasts and things. And I started to just feel like, if they can do it, why can't I? Like, why can't I build the life that I want? And this job offer that I got was amazing and a wonderful organization. I would have been working for an absolutely wonderful woman business leader. But I always felt like, if I do that, I'm going to regret and I'm going to wonder, what if I would have done something for me? What if I would have done productivity? And I couldn't let go of the fact that I always would have been kind of regretting the fact that I didn't try.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so funny. And you don't actually even know this. So Recruit the Employer 2.0, we've kind of revamped it for the new year. We have a lot of extra fun, jazzy things. So if you're interested in learning more about the program and how it could potentially support you and help you, just go to recruittheemployer.com/call to set up a call to see if you're a good fit. But we are actually adding a track. And Sarah, this is I'm telling her this live. We're actually adding a track because you inspired me, where I realized that sometimes some women that are in this program that have an entrepreneurial spirit just need the permission to explore that option. So we're actually going to have a track within the program of, okay, what if I'm realizing that I want to start my own business? What do I do next? What do I do next? Because that could be an option, right? That could be a thing where you're realizing, as you're doing the clarity work in the Recruit the Employer program, that, gosh, I actually don't want to work in a 9-to-5. I want to escape 9-to-5. Here's what I actually want to do. Now what? So we'll actually have the framework to teach you how to launch your own hustle, your own business, if you want to escape 9-to-5. So that's inspired by you, actually, Sarah.
Oh, this is great. What a gift for 2021. I love that.
Hi there, friends. Jena here again. Let me guess. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably not looking for any job. You're looking for the right job. And the right job is not at your current company. You're tired of feeling underpaid, overworked, and like your career is in the hands of the employer. You're ready to make some moves, but you're overwhelmed by all of the options, don't know how to sell yourself, and have a nagging feeling that your lack of confidence is keeping you from success, not to mention negotiating the amount you're worth. If this sounds like you and you're a mid to senior level career woman who makes over $100,000, we have the 5-step solution just for you. Our signature program, Recruit the Employer, is designed to help women leaders get clarity on what they want to do, market to their dream jobs, and negotiate thousands more. Using a personal branded approach, we equip you with the tools to sell yourself in a non-sleazy way, think like a C-suite leader, and ultimately take back control of your career. To apply, head on over to recruittheemployer.com/call. Over the course of 6 months, you'll network with other female leaders at similar stages, learn how to double your salary, and solidify your career story. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, that dreaded resume and LinkedIn profile, yeah, we do that for you. Because of the intimate nature of this program and limited spots, we're really very selective about who we invite into the program. To see if you'd be a good fit, again, head on over to recruittheemployer.com/call to apply today. So why don't you share a little bit about what you're doing now? Because I know people are like, productivity, what does that mean? What does that look like? Who do you work with? Share a little bit about what you're doing now in your business.
Sure. So, really, Jena, right as I was talking to you, you would give me some homework and I would run off and do it with such excitement. So I started my company, officially here in 2020, and it is called So Productive, which, yes, that is my initials.
I love it. I love it. Her website is beautiful, y'all.
Oh, thank you. So I'm on a mission to help busy professionals fight burnout by helping them get more done so they can love the work they do and still have time for the people they love. And That's not negotiable for me because we spend so much time working that it's important that you leave the work at the end of the day and feel accomplished and fulfilled and joyful with what you're doing. But then when that work is over, you cut it off and say, now I'm going to go be fully present for my family, my loved ones, for my hobbies that I love. And that's just so important. So, loving your work and having time for the people and things that you love. And so I create programs that really helped me because I know what it's like to feel like you're making critical decisions all day. Everyone's tugging for your attention. And then you have like, what's for dinner? Like put you over the edge. You're like, I don't know. I can't answer one more question. Right. And so you're coming home or you're coming out of your work from home office and your family or your spouse is just getting the worst part of you. And I don't want that for people. So now I offer one-on-one coaching, which helps individuals with time management, prioritization, setting boundaries, communicating those boundaries is equally as important as setting them, and then managing their to-do lists. I'm also doing a lot of speaking and corporate training right now for teams who are continuing to adjust to this new normal that we're still in, this changing, evolving work environment. And I'm helping teams be more productive cohesively.
I love that. So if you're listening right now and you're like, I need some one-on-one coaching, who would be like perfect for a one-on-one coaching? Like what's their situation right now?
Yeah. So if you're a busy professional and you are feeling as if you are on the road to burnout, and I have a blog about the signs of that, but some of those indicators that you're just not feeling it, you're leaving the workday feeling like I didn't get anything done again. I'm feeling about the work that I'm doing, and you just need help organizing your day, setting priorities, and especially if you're feeling like your to-do list is just you're never going to get to it. I do a lot of work with people on managing their to-do list. So if you're a busy professional, I can definitely help you in a lot of areas. And the coaching is nice because it's really tailored to you. I have a productivity system, but when we do coaching together, I make sure that you're really getting what you need because that's different productivity tools than from what someone else will need. So it's very, very specific to you.
I love that. What would you say is like, what's one piece of advice that you can give to people that are working from home to help them become more productive? Just like one little tidbit. I know we have a lot of people, you had mentioned, teams right now that are struggling to work from home, work cohesively. What's one thing that you would recommend to somebody who is stuck at home and they, whether because they want to or they have to, or all the different things, how can they become more productive in their workday?
Well, with any, large project you have, especially, I think it can feel this, something like finding a job, for example, it's big and it's daunting and it can really feel overwhelming. And sometimes we're not sure what steps to take. And so we do nothing. And
we get so much overwhelmed that we just shut down. I see that a lot. Yeah, I see that a lot with Enneagram 3s. I can't remember. Are you an Enneagram 3?
So I just took it again. I was a 6 and now I'm a 3. I don't know. I guess it changes.
Well, you're in the same triad. So 3s, 6s, and 9s are all kind of related in some way. But 3s, when they get really stressed out, they go to an unhealthy 9, which means they just shut down. That is 100% me. If I feel like I'm too overwhelmed, I'm just like not going to do anything.
Right.
And a lot of people who listen to this podcast and a lot of people who are really ambitious, ambitious females that are listening to this and that are in the job search right now, you may be resonating with this. So what do you do to combat that overwhelm?
Yeah. And so, the problem with that, what you're saying too, is you really start to feel bad about it, yourself, nothing's. And so my biggest recommendation for people is just to break everything down into these bite-sized, smaller, tangible tests. And that seems kind of obvious, but when you can physically check off that you did something, even a small part of a larger project, that momentum that you create is so powerful. You can actually see a little bit of movement. And I think especially for people who are working from home now, and we were used to this environment, a collaborative environment that had some life and spirit to it. Now, when you're working from home, if you don't kind of celebrate those small victories and those wins for yourself, it's really defeating, and it's hard to see movement. So take those big tasks, break them down. And then of course, the final step is, after you know what tasks you need to do, is to physically block out time on your calendar to do those tasks. And again, that seems very obvious, but you need to be deliberate about how you're spending your time. All of a sudden you think, oh, I'm going to get this task done. Well,
it never happens.
It never happens. It's like next week, the heavens aren't going to open up and here's a free afternoon with nothing else for you to do. That just doesn't happen. So, the biggest recommendation is put that on your calendar right now for next week. And then you will get it done then. And so I see that step missed a lot, and it's fairly simple. Just get that on your calendar.
Yeah, it's funny because you've inspired me a lot this year, where I have not always done a great job at that. I'm the queen of here's a big picture idea, and then I get really stressed out in the nitty gritty details. But I'm even looking right now as we're recording this, I made the conscious effort this year to get a yearly calendar that's up on my wall. And I have now broken up so I can physically see, okay, we're launching the journal XYZ date. We are relaunching the website this date. Okay, now I'm looking at that calendar, so I'm always reminded of it. And then I was able to break down even for team members, okay, this is what needs to get done by this date. This needs to get done. Okay, now how do I incorporate that onto my own calendar, like you mentioned?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even the book that I've been trying to write since probably we worked together. But it has not happened. And it was awesome because you do these productivity power hours. You were talking about blocking off that time. And I actually did one of your productivity power hours to start the process of working on my book and setting aside the time, because it wasn't happening. I wasn't prioritizing it. And tell us a little bit about these productivity power hours, because I honestly, when you told me about them, I'm like, this is a genius idea. This is a genius idea. I love what you're doing. How did you come up with this?
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And that's really the key. It's you have this thing and you keep putting it off, and now it goes on the list for tomorrow and then next month and then next year, and you realize you haven't done it. So here's the idea and how I came up with it. As a coach, I do a lot of listening. You know that, Jenna. We spend a lot of time listening. And one thing that kept coming up again and again was this feeling of, I didn't get anything done today. Mm-hmm. The day ends, you feel like I answered emails all day and I've responded to everybody else's fires and things that they needed, but another day went by and I didn't get to the things that mattered to me.
Yeah.
And when you don't accomplish those things, again, that feeling of, I didn't get anything done. I only added
it's a lot of guilt and shame.
So much, overwhelm, it leads to burnout. So that's how that whole situation gets started, right?
Yeah.
So these productivity power hours are like working out with a personal trainer at the gym. Mm. The weights are.
I love this idea. Keep going.
The weights are sitting at the gym. You can go use them anytime you want, right? Mm-hmm. Go ahead, go lift those weights. But
it's not going to happen.
If you hire a personal trainer, you are more likely to show up, and then that trainer is going to push you to lift more physical weight and do more reps than you would have on your own. And so the productivity power hours are there. So you select the date and time that you want to show up.
Very similar to if you were to, sign up for Soul Cycle or some kind of, cycle class or any type of exercise class.
Exactly. It goes right onto your digital calendar, which helps you commit that time. Mm-hmm. Someone told me that in a corporate environment, a lot of times, if there's an outside appointment, which this would be, your admin can't book any other appointments for you. So it really locks it in. And then you tell me what you'll work on during that time, which helps hold you accountable. Mm-hmm. And then I'm available to you for that hour to really support you. So it is a powerful time to set the time aside to get the things done that really matter to you.
I love that. So if somebody wants to do that with you, right? If they were like, okay, I'm really curious about your offering, Sarah, I want to get started with a productivity power hour. Where do they go?
Sure. So my website is so-productive.com/Jena.
Love it. Jena1N.
Exactly. And I know, Jenna, your listeners are high achieving, busy professionals who do want to get more done. So I wanted to give them a complimentary power hour.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you go to that website, it's usually $25, but I want to give this hour and this time for people to get their critical things done, for your career search, for your personal lives. I mean, you could show up and do yoga for an hour. It's just a surefire way to kick off your goals for 2021. And honestly, it's a way for me to give back to your community. That's just, I'm so grateful for that. So I'm going to be hosting that on January 27th at 2 p.m. so-productive.com/Jena.
I love that. Thank you so much for doing that. So this is not an excuse, people. There is literally no excuse not to show up on the 27th at 2 p.m. and that's Eastern time.
Yes, Eastern time.
2 p.m.
Yes.
Eastern time. So get your free session. If you're a job searcher, this is absolutely, you should be doing this. So that's one of the biggest things that I often hear is I don't have enough time to job search. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of adopted this within the Recruit the Employer program, actually having a power hour internally within the program to the members. And they really loved it because they did get a lot done during that time frame because they set aside the time to do it. So what do you have any, right before we wrap up and you kind of tell them where else they can go to see you, but do you have any specific tips for the job search, besides maybe perhaps the productivity power hour? What are some other tips to make sure that they're more productive in their search?
Well, I think a job search especially can feel really, really sad in a way. You're mm-hmm. putting yourself out there. You're kind of getting dressed and getting ready to go. You're going on an interview, or a Zoom interview, and you're putting your resume out there and you're networking and you're forwarding things to people, and you might not be getting any response back. Mm-hmm. Or you're getting a response back that says, we're no longer hiring, or we're delayed because of COVID, whatever it is. And that can feel really defeating. Mm-hmm. And I think what's important is to not be reliant on the feedback you're getting, but honoring and celebrating the things that you did do. I sent my resume to this many people today. I networked with this many people today. I did get 3 interviews this week. We have to celebrate those things, not just the end goals, but really be mindful and honoring the journey that we're on, because you're learning through that journey. And so take advantage of that.
Yeah, we talk a lot about in the program, in the early modules, about celebrating the process and not just focusing on the results. Because if you're only focusing on the results, you're going to be disappointed. Because the reality is any coach that tells you it's really easy to get a job is lying to you. Do I think it can be easier than people make it for themselves? Obviously, it's why we do what we do and we offer what we offer. But it is going to take time. It is going to take resilience. And we're just not used to that as a generation, as a society anymore. And so to, like you said, to celebrate the process and to celebrate the actions, the massive action that you're taking in the moment to get you towards the result, that I think is key, just like you said.
Yeah.
I love that. Awesome. So Sarah, thank you so much for coming today to share a little bit more about your experience with the Recruit the Employer program. Where can people learn more about you? And again, if you want to share that URL to where people can sign up for the Productivity Power Hour, that would be great as well.
Sure. So I'm on LinkedIn, Sarah O'Hannison. I'm connected with Jena, so that might be an easy way to find me. My Instagram is so.productive. And then my website is so-productive.com/Jena.
Awesome. I love it. Sarah, I'm so proud of you. I'm so encouraged by the way that you really you are a perfect example of somebody who took her career and refused to let an employer tell her what it was going to be about. You actually took back control of your career and your life and now your business. And I'm just honored to get to be a part of that journey from the process. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. It's just wonderful to have you in my life as a coach and as a friend. So thank you, Jena.
Awesome, guys. We will see you next week on the Recruit the Employer podcast. See you then. Thanks for listening to the Recruit the Employer podcast. If you've been loving this podcast and it's been helping you approach your career in a brand new way, I have 2 shameless asks. Number 1, make sure you hit subscribe right this very second. That way you won't miss a single episode. And number 2, would you give us a review? Reviews help other ambitious career women like you know that this podcast is the place to be and helps the podcast climb to the top of the charts. Think of it as some good career karma. And as always, if you want to learn more about the topics we discussed today or are ready to take massive action and invest in yourself and your career, we would be honored to help you. Head on over to recruittheemployer.com/call to book your free strategy session. Regardless, we will see you next week.